As a parent, I love all my children. When it comes to grills, I love one more than all the rest. Today, I reveal which one that is and share some pros and cons of the entire Kamado Joe product lineup to help you pick a grill that might be right for you. Let's get started. Hey, I'm James from Smokin' Dad Barbecue. And why do you guys do this to me? You ask all the time, James, if you could only pick one, which would it be? And so I want to take advantage of the fact that I'm so blessed to have one of every new model that Kamado Joe sells to work our way through the lineup, share some pros, some cons, some other information that might help you pick a grill that's right for you. But today's order is going to be my personal favorite. So I'll work away from least favorite to favorite, and I'll share my insights and thinking all along the way as to what might help you pick a grill. But just like the Olympics, doesn't mean they're not great athletes or great grills, but there can only be one winner, and that's what we're going to find out today. Let's get started. So our first Kamado Joe we're going to review is not even a Kamado, so to speak. It's Kamado Joe's entry into the kettle space. So this is the brand new Kamado Joe Kettle Joe. And what makes it unique and exciting coming into the kettle space, if you haven't seen this grill before, is a couple of things. In the Kamado Joe lineup, what stands out first is its price. So this is $4.99 US. It's a 22-inch grid size, so it fits right between the Kamado Joe Classic and the Kamado Joe Big Joe for space, and it brings a couple features from the Kamado Joe lineup into a kettle price category in that sub $500 market, which is pretty interesting. And so the two key benefits here that really stand out for me is first the ceramic firebox, and that solves a couple of problems. One is heat, energy, and retention. And so the very first thing I threw at this grill was an overnight brisket, which is something that's really hard to do on a traditional kettle, as they don't retain enough energy. You burn through your charcoal and you're up at 3 in the morning adding more charcoal. The other advantage of that firebox is it protects the enamel coating. And so gone are the warnings in your owner's manual of not to exceed 500 degrees Fahrenheit because you can crack your grill. This one's good for 700 degrees, and boy, does that make a difference when you're going for a killer sear. So in addition to the slow roller, which is Kamado Joe's hyperbolic smoke insert, which circulates air more, the firebox, the entry-level price, and a couple nifty tricks up its sleeve like the side cart and the rear hinge, there's a lot to love about this grill. Are there any holdbacks? So a couple of the things that I would have some reservations about the Kamado Joe Kettle Joe. First, it's not a Kamado, so you're not getting that ceramic heat retention, and most importantly, moisture retention. This grill leaks some smoke out the top, out behind the gasket, and you may even see some of that grease finding its way out. It doesn't come with that oven grade high heat gasket that's found on all the new Series 2, Series 3 Kamado Joes like the Classic or the Big Joe. The other sort of holdbacks that I have for this grill is, despite it being a kettle, is its lack of portability. So not only is the size pretty significant and the stand is screwed into it, which makes it difficult. So unless you have a pickup truck, you're not just going to be throwing this into the back of your vehicle and heading out for a day at the beach and doing some grilling. And even if you were, there's the weight. And so the assembled weight of this is 121 pounds. And so that puts it in sort of just an awkward category in terms of, is it a kettle and it's very portable, or is it a Kamado Joe, which is going to remain in your backyard, in which case I'd want to see a few of those other Kamado Joe features like the gasket, etc., make their way into the grill. Now, this is a pre-production model, so some things may change. If they do, I'll pin my comment so you don't miss that. But on the model that I received, it also doesn't come with a couple of tools that I'm used to getting with every other Kamado Joe. Now, I don't need these tools because I happen to have a few spares lying around, but if this is your first grill, things like the grill grippers or the ash tools are really handy, and they come on every other Kamado Joe product behind me that we're going to review. The grill grippers are great for moving hot grids around mid-cook, and the ash tool actually is one of my favorite accessories when you're raking hot coals and able to fire different parts of your cook. It just makes the experience just part of what I love about live fire cooking. So did Kamado Joe build a better kettle? Absolutely. The slow roller, the charcoal basket, the adjustable dome, there's a lot to love about this grill, and I wouldn't have any hesitations, recommending it. But I think there's just a few little things holding me back from being even more excited about this grill than I already am. If it came with that half moon deflector that allowed you to do some indirect setups without having to manage a hot dome mid-cook, if it came with a few of those tools, and if they address the leak in the air seal on the grill, this moves like from cool to super cool in a heartbeat. But today, it's the first voted off the kitchen island. So I'm sorry, Kettle Joe, the tribe has spoken. Okay, next up is the brand new Kamado Joe Pellet Joe. If you've not seen this grill before, let me give you a quick overview about it. So this grill, unlike every other Kamado Joe, doesn't run on charcoal, it runs on pellets. So you've got a hopper right here, you fill up with your wood pellets, and an auger feeds the fire. And so this grill is a smart grill. It can be controlled either with your dial up front or over Wi-Fi. And that just brings a ton of convenience. Kamado Joe's website sort of says this brings the convenience and flexibility of pellet grills with some of the best features of a Kamado grill. So what are some of those best features? Well, you've got a ceramic insert on the bottom, a ceramic dome, and that provides two things: great heat retention and moisture retention, and that allows us to save some energy on the fuel that we burn. I've done a test of this grill versus two different popular pellet grill models, the Traeger Pro 575 as well as the Timberline 850. And the punchline here is this uses way less energy, to the point that the incremental pellet cost is enough to buy the grill 2 times over. And so if you're interested, check out my playlist down below and you can get more information on that. In addition to the overall efficiency, you get a couple other advantages here, which is if you're brand new to grilling, this takes the guesswork out of perfectly balanced smoke. And so a mistake that I've made, and I know many of you have made when you first start getting excited about grilling, is you throw way too much smoking wood at your food and your family is put off by the whole experience. The Kamado Joe Pellet Joe gets all of this right for you, and things like pizza and chicken wings, my family still says that they prefer the food off of the Pellet Joe versus some of my little too ambitious with smoke wood efforts using live fire and charcoal. So despite a much higher searing temperature than what the Traeger can reach, if you're just comparing these two, the sear is night and day difference and far more preferable for my taste buds on the Kamado Joe Pellet Joe versus any pellet grill that I've used before to sear, which is mostly Traegers and Green Mountain. But there are a few holdbacks here for the Pellet Joe for my personal taste. The first is the price. At $19.99 US, if it was me, I would go ahead and buy a Kamado Joe Classic 2 and add the iCommand in order to gain some of that app-driven control if I wanted the set it and forget it nature. That would open up a few more options for me. One, I could add the slow roller insert to the Series 2 grill that comes on the Series 3 Kamados and get that advantage of smoke distribution. I can also use my favorite accessory, the Joe Tisserie, which will not work on the Kamado Joe Pellet Joe just because there's not enough clearance down below. And maybe a few other things if you're just thinking about this is the space. And so at 18 inches, you can fit a fair amount of food in there. But in this particular grill, I found that ceramic insert sits very close to your food and it's hard to balance not overdoing the bottom. And so while Kamado Joe set out to build a better pellet grill, which I absolutely can see some clear advantages, whether it's the high heat sear or the energy efficiency, and they absolutely have done that. Check. For me, is it my favorite Kamado? Did they build a better Kamado? Not for my vote. So I'm sorry, Pellet Joe, you're the next to be voted off the kitchen island. And then there were 3. Speaking of 3, we are on to the Kamado Joe Classic Series 3, which is Kamado Joe's Do-It-All grill. It's an 18-inch grid size, and it comes in at $16.99 US. But you can save some money here. If you want to go back to the Series 2, you can save $400, and if you can find a Series 1, you can save just a little bit over $900. So what's the difference between these 3 grills? Because they're all the same 18-inch grid size, although there are some differences to know about. So when you step up from the Series 1 to the Series 2, you gain a couple extra features like the multi-piece firebox, the high heat gasket, which locks in flavor and smoke. You also gain the air lift hinge, which just removes all the weight of the dome, and it prevents any risk of someone lifting and dropping your dome and potentially cracking your ceramic. You also, over the Series 1, get the new control tower top, which is just killer at managing your vent settings so they don't move when you open and close your dome. And it's weatherproof, so if you ever have a little rain roll in your cook, you're not getting any of that water on your food. When you step up to the Series 3, there's a few more toys in store for you. Namely, you get the charcoal basket with a divider, which just gives you some more flexibility in terms of how you set up for multi-zone cooking. It also makes cleanup a breeze. I love a basket. So if you don't have one, if you want to look, Kamado Joe usually makes one for all of their grill models now, including the Junior, which is brand new, or an independent company called Kick-Ash Basket makes one. And these just add a ton of, extra air and ease of cleanup to your grill, which just helps make managing those temperatures a little bit more easy to achieve, especially when you're learning. So not only do you get the basket, there's a few more things that come with the Series 3. You get the metal side shelves, which allow you to put hot deflector plates, hot food on them without any worry of them melting. You also get a 3-tier divide and conquer rack system, and this is made possible because the Series 3 grows 4 inches in height over the Series 2. And this creates space for Kamado Joe's hyperbolic smoke chamber insert called the Slow Roller. And this is the one that got me to switch from Big Green Egg over to Kamado Joe. And can I say it makes a world of difference? Not just the Slow Roller, but that 4 inches in height. And I don't have a scientific explanation for this, but I actually think it solves a key problem. And so one of the advantages of Kamado style cookers is that they're incredibly energy efficient. But there can be such thing as too energy efficient, where if that fire is just barely smoldering along, it doesn't put off clean smoke. So if you add wood chips, which you shouldn't, I prefer wood chunks, you get much, much better smoke coming off of your grill. And so this Series 3, whether it's that extra 4 inches of height, a little bit more mass, it burns ever so slightly more charcoal, but it's burning cleaner. And so whether I use the slow roller or I don't use the slow roller, this thing is a smoke ring machine, just churns out incredible smoke rings. And not that you taste the smoke ring, but you do taste the quality smoke. And so if you have low and slow in the back of your mind in terms of what you want to cook, and you're trying to decide between the Series 2 and the Series 3, that would be the decision maker for me. If you want to do brisket, ribs, pulled pork, etc., go for the Series 3. If you want to do some pizzas, some grilling like steaks, etc., the Series 2 is an incredible machine. And if you just want to get started, you're not sure if this is for you, and you can find a great deal on the Series 1, it packs a ton of the same features for an incredible price, and you'll be able to cook some food that you absolutely love with the Series 1. So are there any holdbacks though for the Series 3? Let's go over those now. So there's not many things not to love about the Kamado Joe Classic, but if I have to get picky, there's a couple. So the first is just the size that you get. There's that old saying, muscle cars are no replacement for displacement. And this is true with the Kamado Joe Classic size. While it's incredibly capable, I can fit a brisket, I can fit ribs, I'm not able to fit everything that I want to cook, including my side dishes. And this is particularly true when you start using the half moon accessories. An 18-inch grid is pretty capable on its own, and it fits a lot, especially if you use the slow roller, because it really gets even temperatures front to back of the grill. I've measured this before using 2 different probes, and they were within a degree of one another, if not matching at different times. And so that entire 18-inch grid surface is enough for 75% of the things you'll ever want to do. It's that last 25% where if you want to do a big brisket, more racks of ribs, include your side dishes, you just start to run out of space on the Kamado Joe Classic Series 3. Other than that, there's a lot to love about this grill, and I can see easily why it's one of the most popular, best-selling models in the grill space. So down to 2. When we started this video, did you guess these would be the last 2? Before we reveal my winner, go ahead and let me know in the comments if you think you can guess, because you've got a 50-50 chance now. Drum roll, here it is. Number 2 is the Kamado Joe Jr. And this is the most affordable grill in the Kamado Joe lineup. At $399 US, you're getting a 13.5-inch grid size, and there is a ton to love about this grill. And so even though it doesn't come with some of the features on the newer Series 2, Series 3 grills, a couple of those disadvantages of it, to name a few: it doesn't have the new gasket material, it doesn't have an airlift hinge, it doesn't have the control tower top, doesn't have a slow roller. So there's a lot that is missing from the Series 3 style grills, but that's about as far as the list of cons go. Everything from here on out is all pros for the Junior. You're getting a real Kamado. It's a 100% real Kamado, and you can take it places. And the first time you do that, it's hard not to love this grill. And it doesn't matter if it doesn't make sense in terms of the amount of space. It can't hold a full brisket, but everything else you can get pretty creative. I've been able to do 2 racks of ribs by rolling them. You can do up to about 8 pounds of pulled pork on here, no problem. And because of the small form factor, it's a joy to use midweek. So if you're doing something just for a small cook or the family, this grill is far more capable than its small footprint gives off. And again, all of this, it's $399. Like, there's just nothing to not love this grill. And if you already have a Kamado Joe, especially, you know, a Big Joe, and you're thinking maybe I get a second one, this right here is the perfect pairing, in my opinion. You've got a Joe Jr. to be able to take your cooks with you and go mobile and have a day out at a park, the beach, etc., and enjoy some grilling. Or if you're doing the midweek warrior, it's fast to heat up. It's like a sports car of the lineup here in terms of getting up to temperature, getting nice clean smoke, and you're off and ready to be grilling in 15 minutes is no problem. So none of that long waiting period in order to get your food on. So let's go to our winner now. So did you guess right? This is my winner. This is the grill. If I could only pick one, this would be the one. Wouldn't even blink for a second. This would be it. And let me go through a couple pros, couple cons as to why I love it so much. So the one that I have here today is the Kamado Joe Big Joe Series 3, and all those advantages of the Series 3 that I mentioned for the Classic just a moment ago are true here, where you get the slow roller, the 3-tier divide and conquer, the metal side shelves, the charcoal basket, etc. But there's a couple other advantages for the Big Joe that I absolutely love it. First is the absolute volume of space that you get in here. So you just don't have any space anxiety in terms of, are you able to cook what you're after? You're also able to, you know, get great multi-zone cooking. And so all of a sudden accessories just makes so much more sense. So the soapstone, you can fit more smash burgers instead of, you know, 3, you're able to do 6, no problem. So you're able to do the whole family. If you're doing, you know, steaks, like I can show you quickly here. Here's a ribeye on the Kamado Joe Classic Half Moon versus that exact same steak on a half moon on the Big Joe. You just get a sense for the extra volume and space that it has. The same benefit plays true things like the Joe Tisserie. And so the Joe Tisserie on the classic size, you're able to, squeeze in a turkey and spin that no problem. That gets tight. On the Big Joe, you get 2 sets of prongs. And so you could actually do, chicken souvlaki on one side and al pastor on the other if you want, and be cooking both of those different proteins on the exact same rotisserie unit. And the Big Joe has plenty of space to do that. The other thing that I love about the Big Joe is the ability to move the charcoal around. And so there is much more free space for creating different heat zones and signatures. And so you're able to help manage even doneness of your cooking. And so raking those hot coals and just being able to fire different parts of your meat is a ton of fun and really helps make a nice, even cook with great flavor profile. So are there any holdbacks with all that to love? Well, largely there's only a few things that would cause some pause for concern, which is one, the price. And so this grill starts at $24.99 US. And so you can save some money. So you can save $600 if you step back to a Series 2, and you can save $1,400 if you can find a Series 1. And so the Series 2 is nearly the same price of the Classic 3. And if I was in the market and I could only pick one, knowing everything I know about the Big Joe, I think I'd still take a Big Joe Series 2 over the Series 3 Kamado Joe Classic, as it just gives me, again, all that space. Plus I can add now things like a standalone accessory slow roller and make up some of that functionality that the Series 3 brings to the market. The only other, cons that I can think of outside of the price here, it just really comes down to the time it takes to get up to temperature. Now, I cheat. I have a grill torch gun, which can have this at 400 degrees in, 15 minutes, and I'm getting nice, clean smoke. And so that is something that's not an issue for me anymore. But that grill's not inexpensive. That grill gun, I think it's $150 US. And so again, adding to the cost camp, that's one extra disadvantage that I can think of for the Big Joe. So quick recap time. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, today there are really no losers, but there is a winner. And just like the Olympics, there can only be one gold medalist today. And for me, it is the Kamado Joe Big Joe. Thanks so much for asking this question. It really paused me to reflect and get a whole bunch of cooks under my belt on every grill. Find out what I love, what I wish was maybe a little different, and hopefully be able to provide you an informed recommendation as to which grill I would go with in which situation. So as a quick recap, starting where we started, the Kettle Joe, you can add some of these tweaks yourself, whether it's felt, gasket, etc. That would be my go-to grill for a cottage or a second property, or if you're just a little unsure of the whole charcoal grilling game and you want to get in at sub $500, that's where I would go. If you love everything I've said and just I have anxiety about controlling my temperatures and I want to truly set it and forget it grill, or I actually prefer the lower smoke profile and I don't want to taste a lot of that charcoal or wood smoke flavor, I would look at the Pellet Joe. It's hands down one of the best pellet grills I've ever used, and you truly are getting some of those Kamado advantages like high heat and energy efficiency in a pellet package. So I would check that out if I can't talk you into how easy it is to control these grills, which they are. The Classic is the kind of the Goldilocks, if you will, of the Kamado Joe lineup, where you get a little bit of everything. You get some of that performance of the Joe Jr., so it heats up quicker, especially relative, to the Big Joe, but you've got more space and all of the features like the slow roller. The Joe Jr. is my go-to weekday warrior, or really the only grill in the lineup that is portable. And our winner is the Big Joe, which is just, there's nobody I've found who's bought this. I can't find it. If you're the one person, comment below. But I've not found anyone who's got the Big Joe and said, I just wish I didn't have the space. Like everybody who has one, and I see them answering these sort of questions on forums or in my comments, etc., is saying, go for the Big Joe, you won't regret the space. And that is 100% true. And maybe something that I forgot to mention on the Big Joe is it is just incredibly stable. This grill doesn't need a fan controller, etc. It is so easy to use. I don't know if it's the space, the airflow, etc., but this grill knocks out flat lines on temperature control like none I've ever used. And so if you have any concerns about controlling your temperatures, two things I'd say. I've got a Kamado Joe 101 playlist for you to check out, which will help you out with that. But also this grill, just from a design perspective, makes it really, really easy. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please let YouTube know by smashing that thumbs up button, and let me know by hitting subscribe to catch future videos. Until next time, I'm James from Soak Dad Barbecue, signing off, and remember, don't be afraid to fire it up.